Okay, we are unmuted. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream. I am back with more Train Valley 2. We're ready for some riveting gameplay as I attempt to solve problems in real time.
Hell yeah. It's
Okay,
me also.
so Callum, just
Yeah.
confirm for me that you can actually see the game.
Yeah, I can see it on the stream.
Right. So to recap, when I think when we talked last, I had tried to do Panama Canal, and your boy managed to do it to get five
And then
stars.
shamelessly boasted
Yeah.
to me about it.
Yeah, I shamelessly boasted to Callum that I got 5 stars on Panama Canal because it was a genuinely fun level. Golden Gate, Warden Cliff, Make Long. I really enjoyed these three levels. I feel like these couple levels have just been really, really good. It's the right mix of like there's complexity, there's like new things that are going on. This Warden Cliff level, there's a Tesla tower that breaks up your tracks with lightning bolts. It's pretty fun. Okay, so we're starting with Switzerland. So
As we always should.
yes, so Switzerland is, for those of you who don't know geography, a very mountainous kind of place. So just looking ahead, we can see that this is a map that's going to be defined fundamentally by mountains.
Which is weird. It's you. I mean, you'd expect it to be more neutral.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's no neutral button here when we're talking about train profits. So the challenge here, just quickly connect those, is basically tenfold. We have a whole bunch of mountains that make it really difficult to path straight lines. Like, for example, from here to the glass factory is no straight path. If you want to guess, Callum, how I have to get a train from this little place here to the glass factory. Oh, well, it's not really a factory. I think it's like a port. Do you want to care a guess?
You have to go over the mountains.
I have to loop-de-loop. I have to make an incredibly inefficient loop-de-loop.
Okay, wait. No, I think we're misusing that term. That's not a loop-de-loop, my friend. That's a loop. A loop-de-loop goes up. It has a vertical element.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, technically,
if you were gonna make your train loop-de-loop, there would be problems.
well, technically speaking, I am changing elevation because I'm starting down here and I'm going up and then going around. But
But a loop-de-loop is the like a roller coaster.
right.
That's a loop-de-loop.
Okay. No, you're right. You're right. Okay, so the challenge also is that we need to produce highly processed goods, just labeled goods. And what are the inputs? Plastics and boards. I guess we're just making something that goes in crates. I'm not really sure.
Are we transporting Nazis?
No! No, I think this is after World War II. But we need to get polymers and boards, and this is going to be a very lumber-heavy map today, I think.
Hey.
Okay. So we have...
I don't know why I said A to that.
Okay, so there, now you can see that this loop goes all the way around just to get glass there. And I can't build a tunnel, I can't build a bridge or anything like that that will fix that problem. It's just very annoying, shall I say. But, you know, that's the challenge of Train Valley 2, right? You got to figure out how the level works, what the level wants from you. And in this particular case, lots and lots of bridges. And the occasional tunnel. There's a tunnel in the middle of the map that costs $73,000. But if I can get it, I can move stuff, I can move the oil to the oil factory, to the polymer factory.
It always kind of blows me away seeing how different you and I are when it comes to games. Because you're so genuinely excited about the secret tunnel through the mountain that you could potentially buy for your trains, and it's like I would never. This is the level of excitement I have when it's like I unlocked a new sword with which to hit dragon harder.
Well, yeah, I mean the thing is, right? Like, oh. Okay. I gotta be very careful, because the rule is you're not allowed to stop the trains, but I've just noticed that... there we go. A train was about to go into the wrong station, which is no bueno. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, right, ultimately this game is a puzzle. And there's nothing that I like more than puzzles. except for, well, mysteries are just puzzles, right? What is a mystery story if not just a fancy puzzle?
It's a puzzle with a solution is prison.
Yeah. Okay, so I built this fancy railway over here, which is a notably Swiss style of railway. I mean, Swiss style of bridge. Even though there's an aqueduct right over there that presumably I can't use for anything. Because the challenge here is legitimately how to get all of these goods. Because I need...
Wait, how do you know it's a Swiss style of bridge?
Oh, because each of the regional areas in this game have their own styles of bridge. And that is the style of bridge associated with Switzerland.
Oh. I thought there was something specific about it.
Oh, I mean, it's made out of
There's a
sandstone.
bunch of holes in it.
It's made out of sandstone, I think. That's maybe a characteristic.
Is there
But-
a lot of sandstone in Switzerland?
Well, a lot of... What do you think mountains are made out of?
Mountain. What the hell are you talking about? They're
Well-
made of mountains.
Well, mountains
What do
are...
you think air is made out of?
Well, mountains are produced by geologic operations, right? One of those operations is basically tectonic upheaval. But think about like where mountains come from. They come from continents that are colliding. And what are continents? And what happens when mountains get eroded? They produce a lot of sandstone and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean,
How do you know this?
I did a year of geology at university.
You have... Okay, so you have one of the most like eclectic knowledge bases of anyone I've ever met.
Well, I pick up, as my dad would say, I have a habit of picking up lots of useless facts.
I wouldn't say that it's useless. I mean, you've literally just educated me on Swedish bridge design and mountains.
Swiss. There's no sandstone in Switzerland.
Yeah.
I mean, Sweden, because Sweden is too flat for that. But okay.
Okay, now you've once again you've mansplained sandstone to me, but
I mean,
which isn't useless. But
So-
like, it's
South Africa
interesting.
has a lot of sandstone. Like, if you go around Pretoria, you will run into sandstone all the live long way, because there's a lot of sandstone from previous tectonic upheavals, depositions,
It's
etc.
very bold of you to assume that I know how to identify sandstone on site.
I can identify a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
know
different
you
types of
can.
rocks on site because
I know you can. I've just seen you do it.
well, it's a parlor trick, really, because the most
Parlor trick. Speaking of mysteries.
the most useful kinds of rock are usually rocks that are they have some function. And South Africa is just full of all of these types of things. You can find so many types just all around, like legitimately.
South Africa's kind of a great place to live if you have any sort of interest in like ecology.
Well,
We just have a whole bunch of stuff. We have so many biomes.
South Africa, well, I mean, geology is different from biology, but South Africa sits on top a thing called the Kaapval Craton, which is some of the oldest geologic rock in the world.
Wow.
The Kaapval Craton, I'm just going to turn the music a bit down, because this sweet Spanish guitar does not suit this
soulful Spanish guitar.
yeah, this alpine environment. So South Africa sits atop something called the Kaapval Craton, which is one of the oldest pieces of geologic rock in the world. The mantle, which is a part of the Earth's many layers, is constantly being recycled. It's a point where continents are being recycled into the mantle, right? So either new continental masses are coming from abduction,
Hey.
or they're going back into the mantle for subduction. The Kaapval Craton is one of the oldest left. It's like a part of the original Pangea.
Oh wow.
Which is how old it is. That's like a fact that obviously.
Okay.
Yes.
Real quick, can we get a choo-choo for Ill State Fishing, who's dropped a train emoji in the chat?
Hey, howdy, Ill State Fishing. We can get a choo-choo, absolutely. A choo-choo for you.
Choo-choo. Cuckoo cuckoo, in fact. Why not? Welcome to Emilio Educates Me about the history of our own country.
Well, I can tell you about geology, I can tell you about trains, I can tell you about all kinds of things. Like,
all aboard indeed. But here's the thing. Okay, so you said earlier that like geology is different from biology. That's not what I meant when I said biome. I was talking like anyone who's interested in ecology in general, so like nature.
Oh, okay. So you mean naturalism?
Well, okay, now here's an interesting thing. First of all, Ill State Fishing is watching this on the Amtrak.
Oh, hey, nice.
That's pretty cool.
well,
You're
isn't
having a good day.
well, isn't that handy? You know, the Amtrak is not
Yeah.
as bad as I mean, it's pretty bad, but it's still okay.
Yeah. Is that which one's the Amtrak?
That is the passenger freight rail, passenger commercial rail in the United States. Well, it's the only one
Okay.
really.
The
Um,
Floridian, he says. Um, we have you ever been on the Gauw train?
Me? Yeah, I would take it
Yeah.
all the time to get to university.
Oh, I've only been on the Gauw train once, and I quite liked it.
It was my daily
That's
commute because I would take the bus to get to the station, and then I would take the station to get to Hatfield, and then I would walk from Hatfield to university. And
I took it once to go to Santon for a very bad date,
uh,
and then I came back, and I have yet to go back to Santon. Also, Santon's like 45 minutes away by train.
yeah, I mean, the thing is, train travel makes you realize just how far away stuff actually is. Uh, but it's still better than driving. Like, imagine if you had to
Oh,
drive
oh
to
yeah.
Santon, you know?
No, like the best part of that day was getting to ride the cow train. Because I have a card for it. I have one of those gold cards, but I only ever used it for the buses.
Well, the thing is, those gold cards are now obsolete. Uh, the Caltrain system now handles everything via your bank card. So you just swipe
Oh,
your bank card, and that's like it's pretty
that seems
clever.
safe.
Well, it's relatively clever because you don't have to have a separate attachment, right? Like you just use your bank card for
Mm.
all of that stuff. And
You know what? Okay, so I have two things to say. One, the bus drivers on the cow train have no fear of death.
oh yeah, absolutely.
Truly, every time I got into that bus, I half expected one of them to like spray silver aerosol spray paint onto their mouth and scream, "Witness me." 'Cause it felt like I was in a Mad Max film. And two,
yes.
Amelia, did your computer just take off?
No, somebody is riding a bike by my house.
Oh, wow. It sounded like they were riding it through your house.
Yeah.
Two,
Daily life of
also,
living in Centurion, right?
oh yeah. The I one thing I hate about like new bank systems is that they have this thing where you can like tap your phone to pay
Yes.
for stuff. Like you can like use your phone to pay for things by I don't know tapping it or whatever. And that is such an easy system to abuse if your phone gets stolen. Like I
Well,
understand convenience, but there is a level where convenience makes it so that if you lose anything of yours, everything of yours is broken.
I think the implication there is that they want people to what's the word? They want them to enable things like two-factor authentication and stuff like that, so that when you authenticate, like if any transaction is happening on your phone, it can only happen, uh, if that transaction gets cleared in that way. Although I will admit that it is hardly a completely safe thing. Lots
Yeah,
of
but I know someone who they have to do sort of like a face scan
yeah.
before they're allowed to access that feature
Oh, that's
from their
very
bank.
inconvenient.
I mean, yeah, but like they said like but that's secure because they're not going to have my face. Like they would have to unlock if they stole my phone, they'd have to unlock it and then scan my face and then go. And it's like, yeah, but because we were talking about someone who it was like quite a famous person who got their phone stolen when they came to South Africa for a show,
Yes.
and like all of their money got transferred out of their bank account. And it's like, but how do they do that? Because you have to like do a face scan to access this. And it's like, well, they're famous. Couldn't they just Google a picture of this person?
Huh. That's interesting. I certainly
And
think
then
that, the problem with security is that every time somebody thinks they've invented something that is very secure, that turns out to
like
not be
50
true.
people try and prove them wrong.
Yeah, that turns out to not be true. Famously, people talked about how, quantum computers were going to render computer encryption null and void. And then my guy, we've invented quantum proof encryption, right? We've invented a type of computer encryption that is immune to quantum computers. And I'm like, oh, okay, so it really wasn't actually that important to have a quantum
Yeah.
computer, for breaking your security, because it turns out it was always kind of a bit of an overstated issue.
What makes a computer quantum?
The presence of a thing called a qubit, which is a quantum bit. Basically, it's a type of computer structure where instead of a regular computer, which has a binary state, it's always 1 or 0. Quantum bits are in a state of superposition. So you have to evaluate them to figure out what the actual bit evaluates to.
Okay. That sounds unnecessarily complicated.
Well, yeah, for the most part, the thing about quantum computers is we don't really have a good reason for them to exist yet.
Yeah, like how is this helpful?
The technology is cool, but
That's not helpful.
yeah, yeah,
That's like
exactly.
that's the current AI thing, isn't it? Like, oh, it's cool. It's like, okay,
Well,
what's the point of it?
I get the difference would be
Besides
something.
theft.
Well, the difference would be, I think that there's no good use for AI, but potentially there could be a good use for quantum computers. But, it's one of those things that's vaporware, right? A lot of the quantum hype that has existed has been on trying to sell people that quantum computers are going to be the future of computing. Whether or not that is true is very hard to sort of suss out because, everybody's like, oh, if our quantum computer is successful, we've invented the future of society, so on and so
I
forth.
love that phrase so much. If our thing is successful, we've invented the future. And it's like, yeah. So, what does that mean? Like, be specific. It's such a vague. If I walk across my room, I've invented the future. The future being I'm on the other side of my room now.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, Callum, right? How can you expect people who have to work for a living read, by work I mean read science fiction novels and pretend they've come up with something, interesting or clever? How can you expect those people to have employment when their entire job is basically selling people on ideas of things that will never happen or,
Yeah.
would
I
happen?
remember not too long ago when people were like, "Oh, VR is going to be the future of gaming," and then we got quote unquote VR, which
Oh, and it
isn't like,
and it
and
sucked.
it kind of still sucks. I don't see
Yeah,
shit about VR anymore.
yeah. I'm dingbats.
What?
A train went to the wrong station.
Oh no.
Dingbats.
Um.
Okay, so
What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, American train systems are gonna sue you for IP theft if you
okay,
keep doing that.
shoot. Damn it. I was doing so well too.
All right. Well, while you're figuring that out, hey chat, I see we have 2 concurrent viewers.
Oh,
What's up?
there's gonna
What's
be a
happening?
crash. God damn it.
Oh well.
Okay.
We can restart the level.
Yeah, I think we do. But
I don't mind watching you do the same level. I think it's fine.
I think I have a winning strategy.
Kablamo, says Eel Stage Fishing.
Kablamo, indeed. I think
Mercilessly.
I think I have a winning strategy.
Cold-bloodedly looking at this explosion.
Yeah, no, you got me there, right? I think I had a winning strategy, but then I took my eye off the ball for just a second, and the two trains collided into each other. So I guess that's a cautionary tale for all of you budding train engineers.
Yeah, don't look away. Don't get distracted.
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about AI
yeah, yeah. Where were we?
or VR. What were we
Yeah,
talking about?
I get motion sickness from VR. So
Yeah,
I'm not made for the future, right? I'm not made for the future where I have to hack in on my cyber deck. I'm not going to be able to do that, guys. I
yeah.
get
You know
motion
what? Like
sickness.
the more I watch like sci-fi stuff like Cyberpunk, the more it's like I realize I might not be made for the future either. It's so bright and neon and like I don't want to be walking around and someone can call me and they're just like in the corner of my vision. That's going to be annoying as shit.
Yeah,
And like doing like virtual reality where you close your eyes and you're just in the game, that would freak me the hell out.
yeah, I don't really want to play a virtual reality game, Like, the human ear has a very low tolerance for instability. And I can tell that, and I can sword fight. Like, the wacky thing is, I can actually sword fight. So, if.
Yeah, well, you're just like a beekeeper, a very serious beekeeper who
you
wears
know,
lots of metal,
yeah. But it's
has
like,
very aggressive bees.
I mean, I can actually sword fight. And the thing is, I'm not normal by any means in terms of like the viewer public. So if I can sword fight, like I don't need to play a VR game where I can flail about as if I am sword fighting when I can actually sword fight in real life. So like, the because the game, like, imagine you're playing Dark Souls and the game boots up and are like, okay, you actually need to know how to use this sword. And if you don't know how to use the sword, the game will not show you, it will not tell you, you will just die. If you don't know how to you don't know how to
Experience death.
yeah, you don't know how to wield this katana. Well, tough. You had to train to be a high level samurai lord, before playing Dark Souls. And if you didn't, well, sucks to
Yeah, I
suck,
mean
I
that's the
guess.
thing. Like, if they like if it was like Sword Art Online, um, sort of that's for anyone who knows what that is, or Ready Player One, that kind of thing, where you like open your eyes and you're just in the game. They would have to like inject the game instructions directly into your brain, and anything that can do could like just put ideas into my brain terrifies me.
Oh yeah, like if they
That's
can do that,
scary as hell.
then surely they can do other stuff.
It
That
would be
means
so easy to turn me into like a sleeper agent, or to
yeah,
make me buy 30 pairs of briefs.
yeah, Callum. I was gonna say that I feel like the ROI on turning you into a sleeper agent is not necessarily
Yeah,
there.
I don't know that it would be very useful.
Yeah.
By the way, Lucas says hi, and also hilariously, Lucas says, "Don't be silly. You guys in South Africa have blackouts half the time. The lights won't bother any of you."
Well, Lucas, that joke would have hit us deeply until, of course, we managed to not have load shedding for a while.
The problem with load shedding is it goes away for just long enough to make you think that it's gone this time.
Well, yeah, the thing is, structurally, they say they fixed it, but whether or not they actually have is a different question entirely, right?
No, the answer to that question is no, because it always comes back. Ill State Fishing asks, "What is your weapon of choice? A rapier, a great sword?"
Ooh. Many good.
I
I
presume.
actually I have all of
I
those
presume.
weapons in real life.
Yeah, no, I've seen. Uh, Emilio's Arsenal is more impressive than the English team.
I got
I
that
presume
reference.
you mean in real. Thank you. I I presume you mean in real life. Ill State, not like in Dark Souls or whatever. Because if we're talking Dark Souls, I can answer you. In real life, uh, I quite enjoyed learning the longsword from you.
Yeah, I mean, mastery of the longsword, I would say, is probably a very difficult thing to do. My personal favorite weapon really just depends on how I'm feeling that day. I will say this. For the most part, if somebody had to fight me, if I had to fight somebody in a sword duel, I think I would be mostly okay with picking something like a rapier. Unless I was fighting in armor, then I'd probably pick something like a poleaxe. Uh, but
Yeah, I think it's also very dependent on the situation. Fact is
yeah,
that you've learned how to use so many of these that I think you would pick the weapon based on what's happening.
yeah, no, absolutely. I think if I had to fight for real. Let's say Callum, you are accused of witchcraft and heresy, and
Why
it-
me? Why do
Well-
I have to be accused of witchcraft and heresy?
well, okay, viewers at home, you can answer this question. Of the two of us, who is more likely to be accused of witchcraft and heresy, myself or Callum?
Don't fucking ask them. You don't know me. Okay, let me create a scenario for you
Okay, fine.
in which I am not to be burnt at the stake.
Okay, fine, Callum. You create this scenario.
While I'm creating the scenario, Lucas says, I'm already a sleeper agent. I specialize in cozy naps.
Okay, yeah, I mean, the world could stand to use more of that, Lucas. For
Yeah,
sure.
I wish I could do naps. I can't. I'm either asleep for 8 hours or not at all.
Yeah, same.
Ill State Fishing says nice and does a little sword emoji. Lucas says your weapon is what you hold in your heart and pants. Okay?
I don't think that's true, but okay, Lucas.
You're gonna have a hell of a difficult time fighting someone with an actual weapon if you believe that. And Lucas says Callum is the witch and you're the melee fighter. First of all, wrong. Incorrect. Untrue. Disagree. I am for sure a melee fighter.
Callum is a DPS, and I'm the tank.
Yes. Also, you misspelled my name, Lucas. It has 2 L's. And my scenario is this. Let's go with a classic.
Okay.
Alright, we're going with a classic samurai.
Classic
sort of
samurai.
situation. You have been challenged. There's a rival HEMA school
Okay.
run by a capitalist
Okay.
who challenges you to an honorable duel, and whoever wins the duel gets the other one's training space to incorporate into their own. And also, he's threatened your family and everything. You have reason to kill this man, is what
Okay.
I'm saying.
So it's a fight to the death
On a beach.
on a beach. Okay. Are you just
Yes,
copying? Are
in
you
the
just
water.
copying Musashi's legendary duel? Is that what you're doing?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, very much so.
Right.
It's a good one.
Thought
It's
you
a
could
classic.
sneak.
I
Thought you
said
could
it-
sneak that reference by me.
A little bit of Japanese history for you guys. But no, it's a classic. It's a very good tale of strategy.
Yeah. All right.
Fantastic.
Okay. So I have to fight a rival. We're getting involved in a duel.
Okay, you know what? Let's say this instead. It's same scenario. You're in a duel, but you have to go and fight them in a local game reserve.
Okay.
I think there's one by Squad Corps.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. There's a Kroonkloof game reserve, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, let's say the environment that you're in is lots of trees.
Lots of trees.
Quite densely populated, so the trees are quite close together. It's on a hill, so there's somewhat uneven footing, and it is the height of summer.
Ooh. Okay. That's an interesting modification because that means we're gonna be quite fatigued.
Yes, and the duel is in, let's call it mid-morning.
Mid-morning. Okay. Mid-morning duel. Okay. And are we wearing any armor?
You can select your equipment. You can select your weapon. I'm created the scenario to check what you would take.
Okay, so
Like,
I
what
can
would you
we can
armor?
fight in armor, or we can choose not to fight in armor. And if I fight in armor, does my opponent fight in armor?
You can assume that your opponent will be pretty much bringing the same stuff as you because they are also at your level of like knowledge.
Okay, okay. Well, I mean that's kind of complicated because if I go for an armored duel, that's like raising the stakes immediately because armored duels are very hard to do. However,
Why?
that being said, well, because it's very hard to kill somebody wearing armor.
Okay.
But I think in this scenario, especially in summer, I wouldn't want to wear armor because I would be fatigued to all hell. That would just be very, very tiring. So I think I'm gonna go with a rapier duel, and then yeah, I think I think I'm gonna go with a rapier duel. I think that would be
Okay.
because the rapier is a great defensive weapon. I've got a lot of hand protection. I've got a lot of reach. I don't have to be wearing very heavy clothes you know, uh, a stab is fairly lethal, on the face of it. So I don't have to necessarily worry, because he'll also be wearing clothes, presumably, so we can both basically stab each other,
All
Um,
right.
and yeah, I think a rapier duel probably would be what I would do. Rapier and dagger maybe, because I do enjoy using a dagger. I think that's a lot of fun, personally.
Okay. And if I was to make it winter,
Winter.
yeah, what would that change?
I'd be more inclined to want to wear heavy armor, uh, because if it's winter, then suddenly a lot of the issues that I might have wearing like um, heavy armor evaporate because it's winter. you know, uh,
Yeah.
I think yeah, if it's winter, then I would want to wear armor, and I would also want to maybe fight with poleaxes, something heavy duty.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. Uh, just real quick, let me look at the chat. Lucas says a whole lot of stuff, so get ready. Tank is short for bottom. It isn't. Tank is short for nothing. It's its own word. I went to another city to renew some documents. It's the first time I'm doing something like this all by myself. That's pretty good, Lucas. That's a true sign of adulthood, is
Oh
having to do
yeah,
meaningless
absolutely,
bureaucracy.
absolutely, Lucas.
Meaningless bureaucracy at a place that's far away.
Yep, you're in a
It was pretty
place
frustrating.
you don't know why, and you're there anyways.
Yep. I've had to renew my driver's license a few times, and I haven't driven since like 2016. Um, it's pretty frustrating. Now I'm on my way home. Are you taking a train home? Because that would be
Ah,
thematic.
damn it!
If you're taking a train home, then you and Ill State Fishing have both met this episode thematically.
Damn it! Another
Uh,
train explosion.
Lucas says, "Don't stab each other, guys. It's not nice." What is this game about, and why aren't you talking about trains? We're not talking about stabbing each other. Emilio is stabbing an imaginary fascist. Um, and this game is about solving puzzles with trains, and we did talk about trains previously. You missed it.
Yes, that is true.
Also, Lucas is in a bus, unfortunately, and usually
Ah,
travel by
come
train, but this time
on!
it's cheaper. What?
Ah, another train
Oh, did the train
explosion.
blow up?
Yeah, a
Why
train blew
doesn't
up.
the explosion hurt the bridge?
Because the only thing that you can destroy are the tracks. Those can be blown up. If you could blow up a bridge, that would be very unfortunate. Uh,
I guess so. I guess it's just too punishing.
oh no, yeah, because of how expensive bridges are in this game, if you could blow up a bridge, it would be irrecoverable.
Uh, so what have you been up to lately? People in the chat and also Amelia.
I've just been working on a paper that
Ah.
has been taking me a lot longer to write than I thought it would. To be
Mm.
honest. Um,
I have been in a funk lately, work-wise.
oh yeah, I hear you. I hear you for sure.
I have been hyperfixating on things that are not related to my work at
Yeah,
all.
yeah,
I mean, you saw that drawing I did. That took me like days. And that was just
yeah.
for a friend's birthday.
Yeah, I saw that. It it could be genuinely tricky, I think, to find a lot of the. Ah, shoot.
It's
It
just
could.
that you get into something that gives you that like dopamine release of working, I'm doing something, you know?
Yeah.
And then that like occupies all of your attention because it doesn't feel like I'm doing something when I'm gathering footage uh for a review that I'm doing. Hint hint, keep an eye out. Like that doesn't feel like I'm doing something because I haven't like figured out exactly what the footage is gonna be.
Mm-hmm.
And also like it's difficult when it's in your head, you know? It's
Yeah.
like that's the hardest part about doing stuff like drawing for these videos or writing or whatever,
Oh
is that
god.
it's
Okay, I need
mostly
to
in my
restart.
head. Oh my gosh, Amelia, you're blowing up trains left and right.
Yeah,
You're a
yeah.
you're a freaking Marvel villain.
So I was telling you this when I was bragging about beating the Panama Canal level. The thing is, when I don't have to actually talk, my ability to play is much better than if I do have to talk. So
Oh, well, is it? You can just listen while I tell you about my latest hyperfixation.
no, sure. I mean, I'm more than happy to do that. But it's just like when I don't have anything to focus on, I'm focusing purely on this game. That's when I can like my gameplay is at its best. So don't worry, you guys. We're going to be blowing up a bunch of trains today. Uh,
Yeah.
that's just
Just call us MF Doom. Do you get that reference?
That's the rapper, right?
It is.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. I know things.
What are his other personas?
I don't know that.
I believe he has 3 personas. He's like MF Doom, Doctor Doom, and something else. And each one he raps in a different style.
Oh, I see.
Like he was really good at rapping.
Oh,
Like,
I
on a very technical level.
I can totally believe that.
Oh, but okay. Real quick, the chat. Lucas, thank you very much. Lucas says they just learned how to use a card and they're buying my book after the stream. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Lucas. That's very kind of you.
And they've been reading and studying lately. Lucas, I forget what you're studying. And also, what have you been reading? They also ask you to bless us with your voice, Emilio, which I agree with. Your voice is a blessing.
Thank you.
And they saw a burning truck on the highway.
Oh,
Which is very South African.
that's
That's not something they said. That's something I said. It's very South African.
Oh, okay. I mean, like, why was it on fire? Was it an accident or?
You can. Okay, so have I ever told you the story of how I came up with like the perfect analogy for South Africa? For
No.
living in South Africa? So I used to have a job. Well, not a job. It's just something I used to do for money where occasionally one of my teaching friends would pay me to help them with like marking
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So one of them was driving me home after I helped them for a bit. And on the way home, I forget what they're called. You know those little like sections between the roads that cut them off like islands?
Yeah.
The one of the ones with like greenery on it and stuff like that. There was just a branch from a tree that was burning. It was on fire. Like
Okay.
legitimately just on fire. And there were people walking around and none of them were even looking at it. And I thought this is a perfect analogy for this country, which is that sometimes things are on fire and you just kind of have to get on with your day.
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, I think it makes South Africans a fairly resistant bunch. Like, stuff happens to us, and we're just okay with it,
Yeah, it does mean that we're also... The problem with high tolerance is, like, if you have a high tolerance for pain, for instance, in this example, I feel like if you get into an accident where you don't feel a whole lot of pain, you will not get a checkup, even though it could be like something seriously has gone wrong with your body.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's like kind of the attitude our country has, is like shit keeps happening that's actually genuinely very wrong and shouldn't be happening, but we're all just used to it, so we're like fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's on the one hand, it there are like legitimately people who are incredibly thin-skinned for things, like when we think about those American like Karen people, the ones who are like, if the Starbucks latte is not done exactly how they want it, they will have a complete and utter meltdown, and I think about those people and I think, yeah, if they had to live in the Fallout world, they couldn't because
Yeah, they would be food.
yeah, they would be food,
Amusement
or
would be wearing you.
yeah, they would be a low level loot drop. But when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, it's about finding a balance between being like, oh, this is messed up and we should do something, and oh, this is not actually that big of a deal.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just it's one of those things where it's like sometimes I worry that the amount of strikes we have in this country has gotten us so used to like striking as a concept that we don't pay attention to it anymore
Yeah,
unless
but
it like affects us directly. Like when the buses go on strike,
hmm.
that's one thing. But like when the mine workers go on strike, it's like unless something happens during the strike, I don't ever know about it.
I think it's just complicated because labor organization is just one of those things where, on the one hand, you want your workers to be able to strike because if they aren't able to strike, they can't advocate for better working conditions or anything like that. Uh, but on the other hand, genuinely, legitimately, other people just become desensitized to it, and it can be very hard to get people to do something because they just think of it as, oh, it's just another strike or it's just another this thing or that thing. So I
Mm.
feel like it's about striking a balance.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. Back to the chat for a second. Lucas says that they are a high school student. In Italy, they have high school profiles, and theirs is humanities and economy.
I always
That's
forget that
interesting.
Lucas is in high school because
Yeah, it's
sometimes
weird.
Lucas will say something that is very out of pocket, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah, you said the most raw shit I've ever heard in my life, Lucas. And it blows my mind that you're like 10 years younger than us.
yeah, yeah, that's like the thing, right? Lucas will say something, and I'm like, okay, that's pretty hectic, and then the next sentence will be like, yeah, I had to do my homework. And I'm like, okay.
I mean, yeah, that's one thing about going to university is you like actively avoid using the term homework. You always call them assignments.
Yeah, yeah, that's how I think of it because those are assignments. It's not homework because homework is the thing that people do at school.
Yeah.
I just
And
have
this isn't school. It's
yeah,
university.
yeah. I
It's
have
not coffee, it's cappuccino.
yeah. A slow your roll, George Clooney. Uh,
Lucas says that they've been studying mostly Italian literature for an oral test, but they have to study physics for tomorrow.
okay.
I can't
Uh,
help you with either of those. Dante is gay, and Virgil is also gay, and it's fan fiction. That's
everything everything about that universe is a metaphor for Italian guilt about enjoying food, I guess.
and being with your friend Virgil while you take a fun holiday through hell.
Yeah.
um, Lucas also says, I think that Karens would just grow up in that scenario. I don't think they'd keep going if no one cared about their tantrums. That was a very common like trope for a long time. Is the like spoiled rich person who's forced into a situation where they don't have like wealth or resources or like servants anymore and they have to grow up and do things on their own. And I never knew how to feel about it because it felt like I could understand it and I thought it was interesting, but the first impressions of a character are so wild. And when I was a kid, wouldn't change my position on people as much as I do now. So I think nowadays, if I had to see like a character who went through that change, I'd be a lot more like, oh, this is a good character. This is an interesting change. But when that trope was popular and I was a kid, I was like, I don't give a shit about this person. They suck.
Hmm. Do
I
you
want to see the poor guy.
yeah, do you think that ultimately your like your the way that your perception has changed is because like it's changed in media, or is it just because you yourself have changed as a person?
I think it's both. I think media has definitely changed in the way that it's kind of stayed the same. Um, like obviously there are still tropes and there are still it's funny how you can see people like mention like, oh, this is a trope and an archetype as though those things are like archaic concepts that
Yeah.
never get used. But no, there's still a lot of that stuff. It's just that we have new ones now that people are using a bit more. And I think media has changed in that way, and it has changed in terms of like how shows are shot and
Hmm.
how certain things have gone out the window. Monster of the Week, I think, is a concept that kind of flew out of the window
That really
very
sucks because I
quickly.
love Monster of the Week.
Yeah, it's just that the problem with Monster of the Week is that if you don't have something interesting going on, if you don't have a good overarching plot, it's like our conversation about sandboxes earlier. If you don't have if you don't have like a good overarching thing for the characters to be working towards, and it's just sort of a basic like, oh, we have to save the day, then it can start to get very samey. But I think something like Samurai Jack did Monster of the Week very well, where it's like, oh, Jack has to go through all of these trials to try and get back to the past so that he can stop this from ever happening. And so each like encounter feeds into his main quest, which is to get back to the past, especially if the thing that he's encountering is like horrible.
Yeah, but
Because then he's
also,
like,
yeah, but also the thing about Samurai Jack is that the world is constantly aware of the fact that he has to go back to the past. But, the show both doesn't really dwell on it, but also never forgets that he is trying to go back to the past, right?
oh yeah, no, I think Samurai Jack was a masterpiece.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, just it's one of the very few cartoons from back in the day that gave a proper respect to silence,
Hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
like quiet moments. And that was something about it's always why I like when I talk to people about what my favorite mediums are, and it's like animation and comics and things like that. The reason I like those is because they can do quiet moments of like facial, what's the word, expressions so much better than anything else. Trying to describe a moment where a character is just standing there and like a single tear rolls down their cheek, or something, it always feels very like over described in a book. It always feels too much. But when you're writing a book, I mean, I've read books where they do it very well. But in a visual medium, having those like white panels where it's just the character and they're just feeling something is so powerful. There's a panel in Berserk. There's a few panels in Berserk
Oh,
where
I was gonna
they
say.
use like the white space. The moment where Guts saves Casca in like I don't know, the third arc of Berserk, the Conviction arc, and he like cuts away the enemies and there's just like white space between them and a bit of smoke hiding the enemies he cuts away. It's so good.
Another mistake. God damn it. Okay.
That is something that can only be achieved visually
How are
in like that kind
we
of feeling.
how are we for time?
We've been streaming for 50 minutes. So we have about 10 minutes left.
Okay, I've been restarting this a bunch of times, but I feel like I'm getting there.
Yeah, I mean that's the process. Sometimes you have to delete your art, bang
Yeah.
your head against the wall.
Yeah.
By the way, Lucas says strikes aren't necessarily meant to have an impact on other workers, but on profits. That's very true.
That
And
is true to a point. So, uh, you know, generally we live in a very interconnected economy nowadays. So it is possible for like workers in one sector to start going on strike, and because purely everything is so financialized, that ripples outward into other sectors of the economy, and then you have people who are like, oh, these people are going on strike, you know, there might be another strike in another area, and that like causes other issues. Again,
I think
it's not bad for people to go on strike. It's good because that's how you bargain for labor power. But
mm,
it's not a perfect.
system.
It's not a perfect system.
I think that's also one of the scariest things about like being around in modern society. We live in a society, ha 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 ha. Joker dance. Um, the scariest thing about like living in the modern day is that so many of your mistakes have ripple effects that are so much bigger now because we're in many ways so much more connected.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's so scary to think like if I screw up, this could have a ripple effect that affects people I've never met, but like know me for my mistakes.
Oh yeah. I mean, uh, in lots of ways, both big and small, it's possible for somebody to change something. You know, like like take for example somebody like Taylor Swift, right? Now, I legitimately did think that Taylor Swift's endorsement of Kamala Harris was actually going to be quite a significant blow to Republican, ability to sort of mobilize people. Unfortunately, it didn't end up panning out that way because more people just elected not to vote. But, I think if she had not done that, it would have been a significantly worse timeline.
Yeah, it's interesting. It also shows you that like people are more complicated than they seem because Taylor Swift is, guilty of her just monstrous emissions,
Oh,
what
yeah,
with
yeah.
her plane and stuff. But she's also, advocating for a candidate that does hold generally people's interests better in mind.
Yeah, she is a liberal, right? And
She is fully a person. She has layers.
yeah, it's don't let good be the enemy of don't let perfect be the enemy of good.
Yeah, I
That's
think
the
it's
one.
also it's about like I hope I'm using this word right. It feels often that we are very iconoclastic as a species.
Oh, you mean like crabs in a bucket syndrome?
What do you mean?
Like if you put a bunch of crabs in a bucket, then the crabs will tear down at each other rather than realize that they can all like help each other to get out of the bucket.
No, I mean like we create icons.
Okay, sure. So
So I think it's very easy to put I'm describing something incredibly simple in a very complicated way. Um that's writing, baby. That's fiction. Um but basically we create like we turn people into icons because we like the stuff they do and then we associate them a trait because your icon can't be too complicated, you know? God
yeah,
has to be benevolent, the devil has to be evil. They
sure.
can't be too complicated. So we like to label people as like good or bad or assholes or whatever, without giving proper idea that they might just be more complicated than that. I mean, you and I, we dunk on Elon Musk all the time.
As we should.
Yeah, because he's a weirdo creep. But also, like, I think you and I give proper space to the fact that he's a human.
Yeah,
And,
the
I'm sure he's done good things, and I'm sure that he has good opinions about some stuff, and I'm
the
sure that he, I
Elon.
don't know, is
I
smart in some respects.
If anything, well, I wouldn't say that, but I think the thing about Elon is this: I feel deeply sad for him. Right? Every conversation, every thought I have about Elon Musk is that I am deeply sad for the kind of person who is so consumed by ego and so consumed by his own hype that he just lives in a false reality. He just doesn't live in the rest of in the world that we all live in, and I feel sad for him because Elon, as much as Elon is powerful and wealthy and stuff like that, he's a victim of his own ideology, and he doesn't realize it. He doesn't realize that he's just a miserable person, and there's nothing that's going to be able to fill that void. Um,
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like it is one of those things where I often wonder to myself, would he be as bad as he is now if he hadn't been fed so much? If people hadn't like declared him the nerd messiah,
oh yeah, yeah,
would he be as bad as he is?
a good point. I'm inclined to say no, just
Yeah,
because.
I think I think it has to be. I think it has to be that like people thought of him as like, oh, he's the new Iron Man. He's
Mhm.
like a real life Iron Man. It's like, no, he isn't.
Yeah,
You've built up a
it
real human being into the footsteps of a fictional character.
yeah. I mean, people wanted Iron Man to be real, and when he wasn't, they sort of made him real.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, it's one thing. Like the thing people need to understand is that no matter how realistic a character in fiction may seem, they are still a character in fiction. everything they do, every action they take, everything that's done to them is predetermined by an author. So unless you believe in fate, we aren't like that. There's a million billion different factors that determine our actions, from the way we grew up to the small things in our environment, and all of those things wouldn't make a good story because they would be very unclear.
Yeah.
So, it's just you can't give someone the same pedestal that you give to a fictional character because there's no possible way they can measure up to that character unless their life is scripted.
Yeah, and the thing is, Elon, especially, right? He's at this position in his life where realistically nobody's going to tell him no, because a
Yeah.
lot of people really benefit when Tesla stocks go really really high, and if the emperor is revealed to be wearing no clothes, a lot of money that people have made by perpetuating the lie that the emperor is, wearing new clothes, those people have everything to lose. So Elon also lives in a self-reinforcing feedback system where he can't actually really talk earnestly about anything because the minute he does that, the party's over and everybody realizes that the emperor's been naked this whole time.
Yeah. Lucas has said, we've missed a bit in the chat. Lucas said Dante's Inferno was actually about redemption and he was homophobic. Well, that sucks. I'm gonna pretend he's gay. I mean, he's a homophobe, so probably. This is the union's fault, at least in Italy. They're afraid of organizing general strikes and they only do small ones to let the steam out. And Lucas helped spread flyers for their organization's union section, and they were covered by right-wing parties and newspapers.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Well, a general strike is very hard to do. Everybody talks about it, but they're very hard to organize for a reason. Because a general strike is legitimately the only thing that can, cripple an economy. But they're very hard to do. And whether or not general strikes can happen is highly contingent on lots of planning and, other stuff like that.
Oh, there's something I want to ask you about in terms of planning, but we have to get through the rest of the chat first.
Yeah, sure. By the way, Callum,
says,
I want to see if I can try and finish this level.
Okay.
Because I am kind of there.
I'm good with going a bit longer.
Yeah, sure. If I run out of time, then we'll stop, and that'll be it.
Yeah.
But
Hillstage Fishing says no sympathy for Elon Musk.
Yeah, you don't have to have sympathy for him, right? Really, you don't have to have sympathy for him because honestly, I feel like a lot of people shouldn't have sympathy for him. I feel sad about him, but not necessarily the person, if that makes any sense. Because I know a lot of people who could have been Elon Musk, and that's the thing that kind of scares me, right?
I think it's very easy to become that. It's a lot easier than people think.
Oh,
that
absolutely.
That is like something you have to feel bad about.
Yeah. Yeah.
But real quick, Illstate Fishing just said no sympathy here, and I think that was in reference to our Elon Musk chat. That could have also been in reference to Taylor Swift or something.
I think that's probably Elon Musk.
Yeah. Lucas says liberals are screwing the working class just as much as Republicans.
Not just as much. No, they are. Liberals are definitely failing, right? The liberal order is breaking down, and they're for sure failing everybody. But I wouldn't say that they're screwing them over to the degree that the Republicans are, because the GOP they have very specific goals about what they want to do to the country, and liberals are bad, yes, but they're not as bad as what the Republicans plan on doing. Again, they have culpability, right? This is not me saying that they're good, but the two things are kind of very different in my mind.
Not quite as bad is unfortunately a very common phrase in democracy. Jerk billionaires are less dangerous than the ones that seem like good people, says Lucas.
Yeah.
They said they're talking about Musk. And yeah, I get you. Real evil convinces you that it's not evil.
Yeah, for sure. Like if you're gonna be a guy who's gonna be doing high scale evil crime or whatever, would you rather have a guy who is obviously evil, like Bobby Kotick, CEO of Activision, or or would you have a guy who seems like, oh, he's such a cool, chill dude. He's such a great guy. He's helping us, run
He
the
donates like
yeah, yeah,
150,000 for tree planting.
yeah, like a Mr. Beast type situation, right?
Yeah, well, I think that was Jeff Bezos. Where it's like, oh, he donates so much to like planting trees and stuff, and it's like, well, no, he doesn't. That's he donated like pocket money to that, but also, oh no,
I
no, what is?
forgot.
Are there landmines up
I
there?
forgot to complete the track. That's why the train exploded. I'm like, oh, I'll complete the
Oh,
track, and then
oh
it
no, I'm
exploded.
so sorry.
It's fine.
Ill State Fishing confirms that he was talking, or they were talking about Elon Musk. Anywho, while we wait for this mission to roll up, end up, do you want to hear about my latest hyperfixation?
Yeah, yeah, hit me. Hit me.
It's Dragon Ball.
Right? Right. Okay, so that actually explains some things because you were like, Emilio, do you know anything
Yeah.
about Dragon Ball? And I'm like, Callum, I have less than an idea about what Dragon Ball is about.
Well, it's because I've been watching it a bit lately.
Yes.
You're correct, Lucas. Dragon Ball rocks. In fact, it rocks the dragon. Uh, that's that. If there were any Dragon Ball fans here, that would have solid joke.
I'm sorry,
That
dude.
was
I
fucking.
am
That
not a
was
Dragon Ball
gold.
fan.
But anyway, you know what? I like. What's your? Give me your impression of Dragon Ball, not knowing anything about it, because obviously you've seen. Oh, okay. Lucas is dipping out for now.
Okay.
Uh, thank you for watching, Lucas. I hope you have a nice rest of your day.
Yeah. Cheers, Lucas. Hope you have a good one.
What is your impression of Dragon Ball, not knowing? Because I assume you've seen some stuff about Dragon Ball.
Yeah, I have seen some things about Dragon Ball. Yes.
So what's your like kind of your impression of it?
It seems like a very fun concept. It's just I have a hard time like rationalizing all of the chaos, I guess. If that makes sense. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah, no,
like it seems to me that Dragon Ball would be like the raddest of the rad times ever, you know? But
Oh.
the more I think about it, the more I'm like, not really. It's not really it doesn't have anything that would hook me. Let me say that.
Well, I mean, first of all, obviously I'm not trying to do this to make it to be like, aha, you idiot, you're wrong. Here's what it's about. I think it's interesting to see like outside perspectives on things that have basically been there for my whole life.
Yeah, I mean
Because I Dragon Ball was one of the first series I ever watched.
it's got a huge cultural cachet, right? Like the thing that
It
we
is the reason that anime is in the West now.
yeah,
Basically.
no, 1,000,000%. Just because I'm not a Dragon Ball person doesn't mean that Dragon Ball isn't important. If anything,
No,
Dragon
no, I
Ball
wasn't
is
saying that.
if anything, Dragon Ball is
We're here
probably
to justify you not being into Dragon Ball.
if anything, Dragon Ball is probably an extremely important show because um, it's something that has like if people in Mexico are making memes about like how the cartels are super into Dragon Ball, then you got to know that like
I
Dragon.
love those names.
Yeah, I love them too, right? Because there's something so pure about that. Like, yeah,
If
it's
the
terrible.
cartel leader sees my Goku keychain.
Yeah.
Not that one.
Yeah, it reminds us, I think, about the about sometimes the darkness of
One of
humanity.
the things I really love
Yeah.
the what? The
No, so
darkness of humanity?
yeah, it reminds us, that sometimes that humanity is not as dark as it appears. I think.
Oh yeah. One of the things that delights me about Dragon Ball is it's actually one of the first manga collection. Well, not collections. I only have 2 volumes, but it's the first manga I ever physically owned.
Really?
And the original Dragon Ball manga and anime was so vastly different because it was a gag comic.
Okay. What does
It
that
was a
mean?
comedy.
Okay.
A gag manga is like a comedy. It was a comedy that was based on um. It was a comedy that was based on Journey to the West,
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that. It was based on Journey to
and
the West.
like literally the only reason it got into the martial arts and stuff more. I might be wrong about this, but a lot of these like comedy manga that start out as just purely comedies with like some supernatural element tend to go more in the battle manga direction because it's so much easier to like maintain an audience if
Mm.
you can hook them with the idea like there'll be a stronger foe next week for this person to fight.
Yeah, then you're on a treadmill until
Yeah,
eventually, like, you're.
instead of like
Okay, so I got 4 stars, not 5. That's pretty good. I think we're gonna stop here for today.
okay. Well, maybe we'll hear more about Dragon Ball next time. But thank you so much for watching. Ill State Fishing says that they loved taking trips to Mexico as a kid. It was during the Frieza saga.
Oh, okay. I'm sure that must
Maybe
have
the
been.
most well constructed saga in all of Dragon Ball.
Okay, so all right, I'm just gonna quit the game, and we're gonna be on the stream ending soon. Logo, not logo. Okay, so
Scream.
thank you everybody for watching. We ended this in the most applicable way. Tune in next time to see if I will defeat Switzerland. It's over 9,000. The power level. That's the only joke that I know from Dragon Ball.
But power levels.
Yeah, power levels. So yeah, thanks to
Oh
everybody for
no.
watching. Thank you for bearing with me as I crashed a million trains today. Uh,
Thank you for listening to us talk about everything from strikes to anime to what sword Emilio would use in what was the classic samurai situation called again?
a Musashi.
Musashi.
Yeah,
In a
Miyamoto
classic
Musashi.
Musashi, Miyamoto is surely,
I
or
think that
is it M.A.?
me. Yeah, I think it's Mi.
So it would be Miyamoto
Yeah, Eh,
Musashi
Musashi. Yeah,
or Musashi Miyamoto, as
I'm
they would say in
misremembering.
Greece.
My knowledge of Japanese is not as good as my knowledge of other stuff. But anyway, thank you very much for watching, everybody. Until next time, take care and goodbye.
See you on Monday.